Okay, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling here. Hello, folks. It's me, Wondermyth, and today we're going to be playing Sanator, Scarlet Scarf, which looks really fucking cool. It's a visual novel, and it's like dark gothic horror with plague doctors, and it's apparently post-apocalyptic somehow. I don't know. We're going to get into it, and yeah, I hope y'all enjoy. And just double checking all my sound settings are right. I'm always paranoid I don't have my sound settings correct. But nope, everything's good to go. Alright, start. Chronicles of Rustad? Stad? Rustad? I have no idea how to say that. I guess that's where we start up here. 6 days left until the epidemic. Ooh, okay. We brothers of St. Elmo don't have drinks in the morning. Richard talks through his teeth and frowns, all to try and seem more strict, but it seems he's just another lodger for old Magda. Not one of the brothers, not a Sanator, not a hangman, and of course not a savior. More of a grand kid, to be wine-dined and well cared for, to prevent him from losing weight. It's hard for Richard to acknowledge, but after the fear and hatred, after the futile, heart-wrenching hope, and the following bitter disappointment, after everything he had seen in the eyes of the commoners during the years of servitude, he likes Magda's attitude. That's why the brother doesn't want to quarrel with the old lady. He knows he'll hurt them both if he snaps and rudely shows her place in the strict Tentarian hierarchy. But Magda continues to fuss over him. How come, dear? It's customary here in Rustad. From time immemorial it is so. Beer in the morning won't get you drunk, it'll only help your stomach wake up. Even my grandpa taught so. Trying to distance himself from this embarrassment, Richard imagines the drunkard who once lived in this house. Must have been a good old man. Richard never had relatives. He had the surname Murdoch, but no family, only the Brotherhood. Tentaria is your mother and Elmo is your... is this... What voice be... Okay, so... With Tentaria as your mother and Elmo as your father, all good people from the frozen taiga to the shining milky mountains will call you brother. The high-flown words of the testament echo in his mind. No ale, no wine, no sleeper forbid, moonshine. Brew me the herbs, Magda. The old lady looks at him sympathetically and nods her grey head with concern. Got stiff bowels, darling. If you can't say it straight, there's no need to be shy. I'll cure you in no time. Not that brew. Another one. One for the hangover. While the old lady tries to digest the contradictory demand, Richard notices his shadow slowly coming to life. It ripples, then detaches from the wall. The pale northern sunlight had pressed it against. Oh, that's not good. Shoo! Richard hisses, but the shadow has already awakened. It distorts and changes into the most grotesque forms, threatening to swallow the unsuspecting Magda or cut her apart with sharp, bird-like claws. Hey, get out! Why do you talk to old Magda that way, grandkid? Hangover brew, so be it. Richard feels awkward and lies in response. It was a cat sitting on the window. Magda turns around at last. The tranquil light of the last warm days of autumn falls through the dim, dusty window. It plays with the floating specks of dust and gleams off the jars of glass and copper. And only Richard and Magda stand in its way, casting two straight, still shadows on the plastered wall. 5 days left until the epidemic. Richard steps silently under the countless arches of his dream's passages. The ringing of bells attracts him, drives him into the dust-coated chambers. Their owner, Agna, stays frozen, turned aside, pretending the Sanator's coming means nothing to her. But Richard knows it is not so. His attention darts to her new creation, a huge monstrous birdcage with a gate bent outward like the ribs of an autopsied cadaver. The Sanator is used to the Shadow's grotesque creations, the most vivid combinations of forms and images. Hadn't he seen them for years already? Today, however, Agna? I'm gonna do Agna. I guess it would be Anga. Anga manages to impress him. What is this? Anga sighs and throws a brief glance at her guest. No greeting? No thanks from you, as usual? Despite the unfriendly words, the tone of her voice tells Richard she's pleased with the question. I like it, but something is missing. The Senator isn't generous with his compliments. Expecting a cat. Okay, maybe this was him talking. I like it, but something is missing. The Senator isn't generous with his compliments, expecting a catch. Anga, as if expecting such a review, flashes a ragged smile and turns into smoke, almost immediately. A trembling gust of it slides from the eerie chair, flowing to the cage. A moment later, a bizarre black bird treads the bony perch. Rawr! She cries as she unfurls her mighty wings, slaps them against the bars, and bangs her beak on the metal. Ah, now I see. Well, I should have guessed. Will you sit in this cage now? Oh, crazy, there's eyes everywhere. Woohoo! I don't know how that should... how it... Woohoo! I don't know, is that like an owl sound? What is it supposed to... We'll go with what we have already. But yeah, that's grotesque. Kind of this lower jaw here, all these crazy eyes. Very creepy. It's almost like a head, but without like the upper features. Is that a second set of lips down there? Creepy. And there's keys. Very strange. Woohoo! The bird answers and swells with clusters of open eyes. Richard sighs wearily, not impressed by the smoldering stare of a dozen pupils. Why do you keep asking for it again and again, Anga? Don't you know the commandments? She's some kind of fucking demon? Anyway. The shadow bends oh, she's probably his shadow. That's probably what this is. The shadow bends lazily, sliding out of the cage in a stream of smoke, flowing through the bars like a mist, adopting her human form again. I know they were never inviolable, Richard. I know all brothers violate them. You teach us, pamper us, let us out into the world. Richard raises his finger as if his words were a quote. Wait a minute. Okay, so he's speaking again. They didn't really need to make this more distinct. So he was speaking this whole time, so... Why do you keep asking for it again and again, Anga? Don't you know the commandments? The shadow bends lazily, sliding out of the cage in a stream of smoke, flowing through the bars like a mist, and adopting her human form again. Now that is her talking. I know they are never inviolable, Richard. I know all brothers violate them. You teach us, pamper us, let us out into the world. Richard raises his finger, as if his words were a quote from St. Elmo's Codex. I am not the one accountable for my brothers. Am I to be their watchman? Stop talking to me that way. I'm not your toy. Should have done her voice a little better. Richard frowns, lips pursing into in a thin line, wrinkles cracking across his forehead betwixt his brows. He throws his hand up. Oh, dog's barking. He throws his hands up, showing that her accusations have nothing to do with him. You should not look through my eyes now, Anga. This isn't about the commandments. This is about what you feel, what you desire. The shadow turns around, avoiding looking him in the eye, and the Sanator knows how angry she is. He must not leave her in such a state. You should not hold on to your anger, poison yourself, obsess over impossible dreams. Trust me, I care about you. Without letting him finish, she turns around and hurls herself at him like a black cat, scratching and striking. You idiot! To the sea with your caring! Let the Tenebrae feast on your commandments! I only wish to live! Richard waits without defending himself, and the strikes weaken, as if Anga was beating herself and not him. He is still calm and strict, showing none of his feelings on the surface. I'll do anything to keep you alive, he says. Even if you don't believe me, or don't have the patience. All to keep you from knowing the sea. I promise. She slumps against his chest, clutching his shoulders with sharp fingers. Is there really no way? Her eyes silently ask. Richard only shakes his head. It's not the time. I have no influence, no ink, no power. Vigilant eyes watch us all. He holds Anga and looks into her eyes. The seal pulsates between them. And trust me, together we will make it to the end and be able to bypass it. Anga swells within his arms and rises triumphantly. Her shining eyes nearly throw sparks. Your promise was honest. I felt it. I heard it. You were not lying. Could I? Richard smiles, hiding a bitter pang. Then go ahead, act. Justify my trust. Richard awakens, bringing the precious grain of the promise with him. Oh, he did not fib. There are ways to keep his promise, and he'll find them. 4 days left until the epidemic. The soul lies in a pile of ash, and blackened fingers dig into the dirty flakes of its last shelter. Again and again it struggles to restore the images of that world, rays of sunshine and puddles, wet cobblestones and shining roofs, a sliver of sky. Only words left, without names they used to use, and that, the other memory, that which they did, that which must not be remembered? A cry full of suffering and rage emerges from where the stomach once was. It struggles through the vortex of the throat, falls out the mouth like a wingless bird, and drops down, its flight ended. The body, the memory of the body, writhes and shakes, giving birth to new cries again and again. As if getting rid of the remnants of flesh, as if repelling everything that could store this cursed memory. Only until ashes, a pale glow and putrid fumes remain. The anger, the grief, the despair grow and multiply in this new husk. With them comes the envy of those whose world has not yet crumbled into dust. And suddenly, a touch. A touch of strength, color, life. One by one, palms slide into the cloud of ashen vapor that her body has become. They shield, protect, cover her, essence from the swarming thoughts and reverberating cries. The pain is still with her, but already remote, alien, as if it is not hers, it is as if someone powerful took it away, pushed it aside, beckoned it to him. Do you remember? The voice seems to come from within, enveloping her with warmth. The soul remembers, faces, voices, the old house, and other things too. I do. She wants to name the entity embracing her, and the name falls readily off her tongue. I remember Lady Meliar. I can grant you your return. An outbreak of bright, burning anger scorches the soul, making vapors and ashes stir violently. But Meliar's hands hold her together. Cool fingers absorb the raging flame, giving her the right to choose. What should I do? Seek the servants of the old master and destroy them. I clued your memory together, all that you've managed to carry through the houses. I grant you strength and time. What if they have escaped? Mela's laughter trembles, and so do the hands holding the soul, preventing her from crumbling and disappearing. I'll find them, Lady Meliar. Then look at me. Come on. The voice stops, waits, and then does not ask, but orders. Look! A whirlpool of color catches the soul, and countless hands drag her deeper within it. A shining cacophony of thousands of images, sounds, and emotions storm into her mind, crumbling, twisting, and tossing her upward like a feather. Spooky. That was really cool. Ooh, crazy eyes and whatnot. I wonder what they mean by the houses. Like, maybe like the houses of the Zodiac, maybe? Some sort of afterlife thing, I'm pretty sure. Anyway. 3 days left until the epidemic. Despite the late hour, lights shine through the windows of the town hall. Executor Winfred yawns widely, trying to overcome his growing sleepiness. He hears footsteps and the creaking of oak floorboards downstairs. Brother Avis ascends, clumsily carrying an armful of old scrolls from the archive. Excuse me. Let me drink some water real quick. Ah, there we go. The Sanator throws the pile of withered papers on the table, and Winfred, who chose a bad time to yawn, inhales a cloud of stirred-up dust and sneezes loudly. Look what you are doing, complains the executor, wiping his nose with a glove that still smells of a bonfire. What? Avis, wearing a mask, is seemingly unperturbed. Winfred, help me stretch the scrolls. The executor simply looks at him silently. We have to spread out the maps. Winfred puts a hand to his ear and leans over to his colleague, pretending to be straining to hear. Speak clearly. I said... What? I can't hear anything. Finally, the Sanator rips off his mask and shouts in his high-pitched voice, no longer reverberating from inside the heavy beak. Damn it, Winfred! Are you doing this on purpose? Smiling, Winfred spreads his hands in a peaceful gesture. Brother, have I ever lied to you? Take off your crow head more often, and you won't know where to hide from the... Okay. Brother, have I ever lied to you? Take off your crow head more often, and you won't know where to hide from the wenches. Embarrassed, Avis puts his beak mask back on immediately, flipping numerous fasteners and stretching a creaky leather strap. The executor sighs. Do you really have to wear that thing all the time? I am a Sanator. Nonsense. You are the only doctor in town who pretends to be a bird all the time, both when necessary and when not. Are you afraid of getting sick? I've heard there are such... The executor twists his face, struggling to remember the proper word. Hobias? But Winfred understands the true reasons. It's not easy to win the respect and recognition in the city when your appearance is at odds with the generally accepted idea of what the Brothers of St. Elmo look like. Or rather, what they should look like, in line with all the tales and superstitions. He decides to change the subject. Well, why does Weiger need all these maps all of a sudden, at this hour no less? Ava stumbles for a moment. He did not say. How come? I don't know, he wasn't himself this morning. As if something bad had happened. I see. He was looking completely past me. Do you remember the Helensburgh plague, the one that happened 5 years ago? He was there, he and Richard. Winfred rubs his chin thoughtfully. But suddenly he laughs out loud, addressing his confrere with deliberate mocking. Or maybe he just couldn't hear you? Take off that beak. When the plagues will strike, you will be the first scrambling to wear the same one. The executor immediately makes a provocative gesture and smacks his colleague upside the head. Ow, Winfred! Don't you jinx us. Once again serious, Winfred approaches the window and gazes thoughtfully into the distance, between the steeples and weather vanes into the cold, thickening darkness. He stares at the lights dying in the windows for a long time, at the Rustad wrapped in the evening fog, then says, barely audible, "Just what we needed." Ooh, we're getting close. 2 days left until the epidemic. The gingerbread quarter of Rustad doesn't smell of gingerbread at all. It may disappoint a few guests of this northern outpost, but it's merely the dwelling place of wealthy merchants, petty nobles, weary of debauchery, and prosperous artisans. In short, the place is boring and mediocre, almost the same found in most Tentarian towns, spread from the frozen taiga to the Milky Mountains. Today, several houses surround a well-kept courtyard, which is unusually crowded, as exorcist brothers finish placing the seals on the doors of rich citizens. Brother Wygir, the Grand Exorcist of Rustad, I need to figure out how to say this. Rustad, I think we'll go with Rustad. Stands aside and oversees the work of his subordinates, occasionally correcting them and giving instructions. Soon only one door is left. Wygir raises his hand and sternly says to the young brother, diligently drawing the lines of the last seal, Draw more smoothly. Think of this as the door to your own house." Despite the strict tone, Wygir is not too angry at the negligence of his subordinates. The local who paid for the seals for himself and his neighbors is just an odd fellow. Superstitious fear sometimes pushes citizens to very eccentric acts. And yet the Brotherhood honors its reputation. They will place the seals in such a way that no spirit, Tenebres, or even Mela Miliar herself may step inside these walls. The fuck is Mela Miliar, then? Is she like some sort of spirit? Or a god or something? Creepy. Many years have passed since Wygir had put on the crow mask, but surging memories of those dark days worry him, giving rise to a vague anxiety in his soul. He thoughtfully strokes the tip of the beak on his white mask covered with patterns of the seal, and the memories instantly explode in a cascade of monstrous images. Houses burning like giant bonfires, parades of white crosses drawn in chalk on hastily boarded doors and shutters, the howl of a fiery storm devouring plague-infected quarters, and the smell that even incense and spicy herbs stuffed into his mask's beak cannot kill. Sickening and sweet, bitter burning the throat. He will remember it forever, even if the sleeper has mercy on him and all other images suddenly fade. The exorcist shudders and shakes his head, wishing to rid himself of the evil thoughts. He will not let fear take hold of him, not now, not ever. Isolated cases of a disease not yet studied are no reason to announce the beginning of an epidemic. Yet he should send a raven to Dollarberg, just in case. With his peripheral vision, Wygir notices movement and turns his head. At one of the doors, a freckled girl of about 8 years old is enthusiastically rubbing at the freshly created seal. "Hey, Scram!" The girl notices Wygir and sticks her tongue out in response, chuckling. The Grand Exorcist is not irritated. The seals cannot be destroyed that easily. Neither can a palm erase them, nor a chisel chip them, nor even the endless northern showers in cold October wash them away. The brothers of St. Elmo alone know their secrets. But feeling that the shadow stretched out by the midday sun has stirred a bit, Wygir realizes that it is time to teach the wretch a lesson of respect for the Brotherhood, a lesson that all good people of Tentaria must learn sooner or later. "You little prankster." Wygir takes off and strides towards the girl, but she squeals and rushes away. Jesus Christ, that's frightening. The exorcist follows her into the alley under an arch and strides faster. Very soon he catches the mischievous girl on a narrow and stuffy dead end. Gotcha. Looking back at the approaching brother, the girl frantically bangs her tiny fists on a door upon which the seal is already whitening. Finally, the door swings open and the frightened child rushes to safety under the skirt of a woman who appears in the doorway. Weigir looks up and recognizes the pale Frau Grain that he recalls must be her name. The woman timidly moves away and quietly, as if she herself is somehow guilty, asks, "What did she do, good brother, my little birdie?" The exorcist softens his look, but his tone is strict. "Your birdie tried to erase the seals." Frau Gein spanks the girl right through the fabric of her emerald dress and huffs. "You're completely out of control, little brat." She then asks the grand exorcist in an ingratiating tone, "Don't punish her. For the sleeper's sake, I'll do it myself. Please don't, good brother." Weigir just shrugs it off and is about to leave, but Frau Gein, looking a bit askance, adds, "And these drawings. To be honest, we never asked Heinrich to deface our doors. They're made from solid Ancoria wood, not forged from old pipes like his own." Drawings. The exorcist throws his hands up in indignation and responds with bitter irony. "Oh, so the door is defaced. Well, as you wish, I'll order my men to erase the seal immediately. If you prefer the visit of spirits, that's your choice, and may the sleeper keep you safe." Weigir barely manages to turn around when the woman, already breaking into tears, grabs him by the edge of his cloak, terrified. "Oh, forgive me my ignorance. I did not know. Don't erase it." For a few moments, the exorcist looks into Frau Gein's wet, wide-open eyes. Perhaps his words were a bit excessive. This guy's kind of an asshole. "Farewell," he says. "The sleeper bless you, good brother." Upon leaving, Weigir hears the door bolt click, and behind it Frau Gein starts scolding the child. Only now does he allow himself to smile slightly underneath his mask. The exorcist glances at his shadow, stretched out by the dim northern sun, and it seems to tremble, chuckling in response. So all the brothers have like a weird shadow, I guess. We're on, one more day till the plague. 1 day left until the epidemic. Despite the early hour, the street is empty and lifeless. Uneasy anticipation grips the whole area. It bristles with the teeth of lowered gratings and the shields of locked shutters. There are no voices, only the wind rustles carelessly with yellow whirlwinds of dust and fallen leaves. Avis feels many frightened eyes are watching him. All of them expect something from him, rely on him, not only on him, but on all the brothers. And Avis becomes ashamed that their hopes are beyond the Brotherhood's abilities. Everyone in the fortress is waiting for a crow from Dollerberg, as if the latter could stop the number of sick growing every day. Bet they'll write something like, "We recommend a quarantine and harsh measures," Avis thinks with a bitter smile. He is not afraid of the scale of a possible epidemic, an unknown disease. That is what's scary. Meanwhile, the city becomes dangerous. While pious citizens sit in their homes, others less pious are out on the streets of Rostad. If the Brotherhood starts doing badly, a riot is inevitable. Very soon he will not risk walking the streets alone. Avis walks into another alley. The echo of his steps reflects from the walls, dissolving into the damp gloom. Only one house left. Once he checks it, his round is over. The Sanator knocks with a rusty door knocker and asks the usual question, trying to speak as low as possible. "Good citizens, is everyone healthy?" "We are alive," a voice responds, muffled by the thick door. Not too detailed, but Avis does not need more. Sick people would surely beg for help. He is not mad at those who have not opened the door for him. The Sanator leaves, happy with the realization that there will be no more victims on this shift. But how long will it last? Distracted by gloomy thoughts, he steps on something and feels an unpleasant crunch under his feet. Avis lowers his gaze, and cold sweat covers his forehead. On the ground, there are dead birds all covered in blood. What in the Tenebres? Composing himself, the Sanator carefully examines the birds, not daring to bow his head too low. Oop. What did I do? Okay. Pigeons, crows, all torn crosswise. Ooh, that's not good. So he looks around in haste, suppressing a quick flash of fear. There's no one around. Only the wind wails mournfully against the creaky weather vanes and ripples through the sun-bleached flags. He shifts his gaze, and for a moment it seems to him that something is hanging from a weather vane. The fuck is that? Oh, it's a scarf. The Scarlet Scarf. A shining scarlet ribbon soars in the wind, pulsing, wriggling as if it were alive. Ava steps back in disbelief and frantically rubs the red glass lenses of the crow mask with his palm. When he opens his eyes again, the teasing scarlet ribbon is nowhere in sight. Was it a vision? Indeed, he hardly slept that night. He and Wygear marked infected houses on the map. With every pin he put down, Wygear changed his expression but remained stubbornly silent in response to questions. "We'll see after the autopsies," Wygear kept repeating, as if reassuring not Avis, but himself. "For now, this is mere speculation. The infection might be spreading from the underground." Is this... Ava stops this thought, and hastily signs himself with a protective gesture. Quickly, to the fortress. God, this art style is so fucking cool. Oh shit, it's back. Ooh. Okay. Here we go. Let me take a drink real quick. Ah. Okay. Uh-oh. That's not good. The hours just before dawn are the quietest. Carriage wheels aren't rattling on the pavement, and neighborhood goodwives aren't gossiping while leaning out their windows. Even the birds sound too timid as they start their morning songs. Only a few windows, those of the rich people's houses, are lit with lamplight. The servants in there tiptoe around quietly, cooking breakfast and cleaning their master's clothes. And then the dawn rises in the east, and gentle sunlight paints the pavement, wet from the morning dew, golden pink. A new day has come. People's voices and the creak of shutters can be heard over the light-hearted chirping of the birds. The shutters open one after another like wooden eyelids of the town, letting the warm sunlight in. A cold draft? Let's go. A cold draft is creeping through the cracks in the window frame. Richard Murdoch cringes as he tries to find a warm spot on his narrow bed. Sleep clings to his eyelids with its soft fingers, warms his temples, and begs him to stay for a minute or two. Don't listen to the morning drowse. You will be cheated. The trickster will steal your morning's freshness and vanish, leaving you with a heavy head and bad mood. Richard gets out of bed, shakes off his drowsiness, and puts on his clothes while listening to old Martha clinking the dishes downstairs. While waiting for his breakfast, he looks out of the window, casually counting the plumes of smoke billowing up towards the sky. The wind smells of dampness and burnt leaves. The usual autumnal fragrance, yet something feels off. A timid knock on the door comes at last. Martha's fear used to hurt him, and it took him some time to understand and forgive the commoner's attitude. His breakfast is waiting behind the door. There's warm bread and sliced cheese, a boiled egg, some greens, garlic, and a mug of steaming herbal infusion, a simple, homely meal hardly fit for a man of his standing. But Richard always puts his habits before his status. Sipping the flavorsome drink, Richard grins as he recalls his argument with the housekeeper. For quite a while, the poor woman simply refused to realize that starting a new day with a pint of beer is against his grain, and tried to wine and dine him properly. He had to coldly reprimand her, but the fresh, minty aftertaste and the tranquil vigor were worth it. Naturally, he had to collect and prepare the herbs himself. Even the local herbalists, whom one would expect to be well versed in their craft, turned out to be rather ignorant when it came to something other than laxatives and hangover remedies. If it weren't for the greenhouses of the Brotherhood Fortress and his own foraging in the forest, Richard would have long forgotten the taste of his favorite cordial. After finishing his breakfast, Richard heads downstairs and out into the inner yard. Here, in a rickety shed covered in the shadows of a sprawling old apple tree, is where he keeps his workwear. It's not quite so easy to put it on every day. The first thing he puts on is a greasy ointment, which has a slightly swampy odor to it. Richard rubs it on his wrists, knees, and neck. It's a fairly extravagant concoction, but an effective one. The smell of this ointment is repulsive to the blood-sucking insects. After that, with the greatest of precautions, the soft leather gauntlets are put on, well worn with years of labor. Wide-flared cuffs make them look like the wingtips of a strange bird. Now all that remains to do is to pull on his high boots, and to don and gird a heavy robe smelling of tar, and, of course, to put on his mask. This heavy white mask with reddish lenses over the eyes is stuffed with herbs: basil, thyme, garlic, rosemary, pepper, mint, marjoram, all finely chopped and tightly packed inside. The smell is so strong that an unprepared person would start feeling dizzy at once. A price he has to pay, a minor one compared to all he has to do, all those devoted to his craft have to do. What a fucking badass looking motherfucker. And he's got a stick. Nay, Richard is not a jester, nor sleeper forbid a cesspit cleaner. The gleaming glasses and the heavy beak full of incense speak for themselves. The Sanator brother, Richard Murdoch, likes to call himself a soldier, and his battlefield lies within the cities and villages of Tentaria. His enemies, the invisible and ruthless plagues that harvest human lives year by year. Many would think of him otherwise, though. The Sanator walks down the street, and people move aside, frightened, not wishing to be touched even by his shadow. According to local superstition, which the Brotherhood of St. Elmo has been unsuccessful in eradicating, the shadow of a hangman, gravedigger, or Sanator could give disease to sinful people. But who can claim to be without sin these days? Even without personally killing people in the eyes of terrorized citizens, Richard was both the sinner and the saint. He would verify the verdicts of fate and sign them, marking doors by chalking the sign of the cross upon them. His hands would cure, but they were also stained with blood, and his clothes reeked of smoke. It was not he who would throw a torch into one's sickbed, who would nail down the doors and windows, who would wheel piles of corpses away on a creaky cart in order to burn them, but still, through the red lenses of his mask, he could see the suffering of those visited by Sanators. Large families or singletons, rich and poor alike. None saw mercy from pestilence, nor from Richard. He had been offered money, but he had never taken it. He had been begged, but always remained silent. He had been cursed, but would simply move on to the next house. Richard is a Sanator, a plague doctor. Such is the fee his job exacts. Today, unfortunately, more mournful labors are waiting for him. A few days ago, a sick man was found on Merchant's Lane, dying from bloody gashes on his neck, belly, and chest. His skin was cracking, and ichors mixed with blood oozed from his body, staining his clothes and adorning them like a horrible scarlet scarf. Name drop. Since then, 17 more citizens have fallen ill, and the quarter has been quarantined. At the end of the street, before the entrance into the formerly clean and bright gingerbread quarter, the Sanator is greeted by a rude and slapdash barricade that looks as if it were built by the rabble-rousers piling up junk to incite the people. There are planks, barrels, and even a single cartwheel. Some wicked troublemakers had hung a dirty black cloth over it, and now it's billowing in the wind like a cursed banner of infamy. This time it was not the rioters who had built the defenses, but some negligent guardsmen who hadn't bothered to build a decent barricade. This was easy to understand, though, as boards and stones could rarely stop the plague, especially given the nighttime guests. The morticians carting the tarry sacks away, and the Sanators talking to the sick and taking the sick to the infirmary. I feel like I read that all wrong. Let me read that one more time. This was easy to understand, though, as the boards and stones could rarely stop the plague, especially given the nighttime guests. the morticians carting the tarry sacks away, the sanitors taking the sick to the infirmary. Got it. Okay. The guards' halberds are there to curb the marauders' avidity. Nothing more. 2 men are waiting for Richard right at the barricade. The small, skinny man is Brother Avis, in wondrously clean clothes, not at all stained with blood. The other, who seems even bigger next to his partner, is Brother Winfred, an executor with a bludgeon and a short sword on his belt. Richard touches the brim of his hat as a greeting, and hurriedly asks the main question that had been nagging him for several days. Any response from Dullerberg? I think I used the wrong voice there. Any response from Dullerberg? The Raven returned before dawn. Nothing reassuring. The malady is unknown. They recommended quarantine and rigorous measures. The Sanator swings his hand resentfully, as if to grab the throat of the one giving such orders. If we can't stop it within a week, Rustad will be closed. Damn it, how can we stop an unknown plague in only a week? And what of the sick? How was the night? 3 died, and those ridiculous rumors about the Scarlet Scarf are spreading again. Should I just use his normal voice? 3 died, and those ridiculous rumors about the Scarlet Scarf are spreading again. People say they've seen it on some houses. Ava stops, then nervously shudders and moves his beak sideways, momentarily resembling a bird even more. It's strange, but today it seemed for a moment that there was something hanging from the weather vane. It's just your fatigue, Avis. Get some rest. We've got an autopsy tonight. Richard, do check those houses just in case. The Walders, the Hines, and the Weimars. You know where they live? Richard nods in agreement, and the tip of his beak swings along with his conferee's words. Remind me about the Hines. Their house is up the street, on the left. It's the one with tiger violets on the windowsill. Alright, Avis, we should get going. Winfred starts to turn away, but stops, remembering something. By the way, Richard, are you armed? As usual, is there anything to beware out there? Avis said he'd seen some marauders, but they fled. The guards wouldn't say anything. I wonder if they're on the same side. The houses there are filled with valuables. Richard shrugs. The threat seems insubstantial to him. I don't think they dare attack a brother. Cornered rats bite, but personally, I don't believe in marauders that much. Winfred, do I look like a liar to you? Calm down, Avis. I mean, the ones you saw might not be human. What the fuck? The Sanator hastily makes a protective sign. Sleeper forbid. Better not even think that it could be the one hanging for... Heaven... Sleeper forbid. Better not even think that it could be the one hanging out the scarves. A marauder or a spirit, it's all the same. Both spread the disease. Anyway, it should all become clear tonight. Winfred lifts his hands in dismay, and seems like he's grinning under the mask. See you at the fortress. May the sleeper help you. The brethren leave, and Richard follows the path, getting across the barricade and entering the plague's domain. He walks past guardsmen, playing dice in front of 2 smoky, pungent fires, and turns onto the lane. Excuse me. This is a shortcut to the houses marked with the mysterious scarlet ribbon. And Richard doesn't want to frighten the people who are trapped near the plague with his appearance. The streets that used to be so boisterous are now silent. Everything has ground to a halt in nervous expectation. Only the blithesome wind squeaks the weather vanes while throwing fallen leaves underneath Richard's feet, as if charmed by his unnatural silence. As if charmed by this unnatural silence, the Sanator moves quieter, but his steps are still echoing in the soggy twilight of the arcade. He'd be very surprised to meet someone else here. Richard stops for a moment, unable to believe his own eyes. In the narrow lane, a girl is playing with the leaves, her bare feet generously patched Her bare feet and generously patched clothes betray her as a street urchin. How did she ever manage to find such an unsuitable playground? Hearing Richard's steps, she looks up, but doesn't even flinch. Could it be that no one had bothered to tell her the rumors about the Sanator's shadow? Morning, Crowman. What a big nose you've got. What are you doing here, little girl? Were you begging here on the streets when the streets were cordoned off? Despite Richard's formidable looks and his unfriendly tone, the waif doesn't seem to be afraid. I'm hiding. It's quiet and comfy here. Are your friends gone? Can I come with you instead? It's a tainted place and I'm visiting the dying. It's dangerous. What's your name? Have you got a place to stay until the end of the quarantine? Does she even know this word, quarantine? Well, regardless, her mournful tone sounds pretty convincing. Where could I stay? The hiding spots are scary. The Scarfer looks around there. So would rather go with you, Crow. Please. I guess her name's Syl. Yeah, fine. Why not? Inwardly appreciating the waif's courage, Richard asks her sternly, Aren't you afraid of catching the plague? What if I touch you with my shadow? Keep your shadow to yourself, Crow. What shall I be afraid of? It'll be worse if I stay alone and walk around the houses out of boredom. I really should spank you, but how can I lay a hand on such a baby? Richard throws up his hands, thinking to himself for a moment before continuing. Sleeper, forgive you. Let's go then, but don't follow me into the houses, or I'll get angry. All right. I'll sit on the doorstep, and why is it you can go in, but I can't? There's no spare crowhead for you. Sorry. The Sanator's joke doesn't seem to have impact. The waif apparently takes it at face value. I don't want a crow's head. Would it save you, though? You think the Scarfer will be scared? He must be scared of somebody, so why not us? We are the enemies of those like him, and our enmity has no quarter. So the Scarfer's not alone? Oh, that's scary. Don't stay inside for too long. What if they all come here at once? Richard grunts skeptically, thinking to himself that it would be too easy. What nonsense, all at once? Honestly, I don't believe there's even one. Ah, so you don't? Well, let's go then. He might show himself to you. Okay. I want to save real quick, as we have choices to make, and I'm bad with making choices. I think we want to start with the Hinds, because they mentioned those guys. We'll start there first. Tiger violets are quite conspicuous on the Hinds' windows, just as Winfred had said. Richard hears voices inside, and that's already reason to be happy. It seems a woman is telling some children off for something, and there are footsteps and laughter. Children, not yet affected by the all-pervading terror. No, the malady hasn't come here yet, but the scarf's proven to be a reliable indication. Richard must knock and ask. Merry people live here, kind ones. It would be a pity if they fell ill. Avis says someone's seen a scarlet scarf on their house. This should be checked. We may save some lives. The waif seems to be amazed by the news, despite recently assuring Richard herself that the Scarfer is real. Where could it come from? Who'd hang it? The Scarfer? As if you haven't heard that infected houses are marked with it. Many have seen it, still I don't know who hangs them. Maybe the plague itself. It's happened before. The Scarfer was not made up from nothing. This indirect confirmation sparks Syl's curiosity. So, it happened before. Can you tell me, Crow? How can a plague be alive? I'd tell you, but then you won't sleep at night. I guess you're pulling my leg, but I'm not a fool, just young. How can it be a living disease? I'd rather believe in a Scarfer walking around. This naive attempt at provocation moves the Sanator, but not for the sake of appearances. He decides not to surrender so quickly. But for the sake of appearances, he decides not to surrender so quickly. Stay quiet for a bit, please. I'll check the house and then tell you if you must know. After a few knocks, the curtains open and some frightened yet curious children stare at Richard. Someone fumbles with the lock behind the door and at last opens, but just a little, hesitating to let the scary guest in. What do you want, good brother? Are you all well in there? Thanks to the sleeper, we are all right. No one is ill. Oh, wait, this is the lady. Wait, is it that same lady? Thanks be to the sleeper, we are all right. Thanks be to the sleeper, we're all right. All right, I can't get out of British now. We're all right. No one is ill. The children have had their hands washed. People say they've seen a scarlet scarf, the mark of the plague, on your house. Do you know anything about that? The woman's voice trembles as if she's ready to curse and swear or burst into tears. Oh, Mo, protect us. We haven't seen anything like that. Maybe it's Grandpa's bed cap drying outside? There it is, the red one. Indeed, it looks like that from afar. You might take it off, though, so as not to call attention. It's a bad omen these days. Yes, I will do that right away. Who would have thought? The Sanator feels that something is not quite as it should be, but there's something apart from the plague that's frightened her. Have you seen anything suspicious, by the way? Maybe someone breaking the quarantine? Oh, it was so scary last night. There were footsteps and rustling, and it sounded like someone moaning. Must have been the damn Scarfer dragging someone to the netherworld. Richard sighs, not wanting to shield his mind from this nonsense. Well, some marauders dragging sacks of loot? How can anyone be brave enough to make sure? What if he looks back at you and then breaks into your house? The woman stammers, apparently imagining the scene in detail, and then, picking up her courage, continues louder and grumpier. No, I myself won't look, and I won't let the children do so either. This is not the time for looking around. I'll keep you safe and sound. May the sleeper keep you, good brother. In contrast to the polite farewell, the door immediately slams shut. People are not to be blamed for their superstitious fears. Even the Sanators themselves don't always know what brings maladies, and the commoners know much less. That's why Richard doesn't take offense at Mrs. Hine. Rather, he is glad that a possible casualty is averted for the moment. The waif, dangling her feet, waits for the Sanator while sitting on the steps across the street. When she catches sight of Richard, she smiles cunningly, as if she knew that all would end well. You shouldn't sit on cold stones. You'll catch a cold, and won't ever have children. For a moment, Syl looks serious and sad, but she immediately returns to her common sly shamelessness. I shouldn't often need children. You promised something, Gov. Do you remember? If you get married, won't you stop being an orphan? Get up or I won't tell you anything. Sighing, she obeys, following the rules of his game. I'm getting up all right. What about the living diseases, huh? There are two kinds of those. The summoned ones sent by maleficars, and self-born or equitable ones. They're all spirits, ex-humans, serving the plague maiden, Mela Miliar. All are dangerous and blind, killing the guilty and the innocent indiscriminately. But if to banish the summoned illness, it's enough to kill the warlock. Does this make sense? But if to banish the summoned illness, it's enough to kill the warlock that had casted. Okay. But if to banish the summoned illness, it's enough to kill the warlock that had casted it. The self-born one, on the other hand, will disappear when all the guilty are dead. And you? Do you catch them? Richard only shrugs his shoulders in response. Easy to say. We hunt maleficars, and the self-born ones are stopped only by quarantine. If we don't let the guilty escape, they'll die sooner or later, and the others will be saved. Don't you pity the people? We pity them a lot. But do we have a choice? If they scatter, there won't be any respite from the plague. Thousands died like that in the past, and whole regions were destroyed, were deserted. Now it's all done otherwise. Science. Seems like the Sanator's boasting doesn't impress Syl. She only laughs in response. So that's how it is. Well, we'll see your science yet. We'll see your science yet. Aren't you brave, you draggletail? If you found a bubo on yourself, you'd run to the fortress right away. We did hear something about Wigmar, so we'll go to his next. A chalk-drawn cross can be seen on the door from afar, marking the house emptied by the plague. Richard stops at the entrance, pondering the situation. What could a scarlet scarf on an already death-marked house mean? Maybe someone was hiding inside and has now become ill? Have you guys been in there yet? Someone left someone behind? No, we never do that. They won't board up the healthy ones. Maybe we got the wrong house? It's not wrong. Look, the scratches on the door are fresh, not from nails. Waif's remark catches the Sanator off guard. Until the last moment, he hadn't wanted to believe that someone really would go around stealing things from the infected quarter. Where? Oh, those stupid people! The boards used by the morticians to close up the door have been surreptitiously detached. No need to guess who it could be. The marauders, fools wishing to steal valuables from infected houses, counting on dumb luck. You'd better hide, girl. Who knows what's on their minds now? They may still be in there. Now you, Crow, call your brethren. These thieves could flee while I look for help. No, I won't back off. You can run and call the guards. It seems the Senator's courage does not boost Syl's confidence. And what if they kill you in there? A man can die but once. I am a brother, after all. We don't die that easy. Now run! The broken door creaks pitifully, letting the beaked-faced doctor in. He has left his grip sack near the entrance. And now he holds his faithful cane in both hands, ready to meet the desperate marauders or the Scarfer himself. Ooh, that's not good. But these precautions prove quite unneeded. Richard can see the semi-supine figure by the open dresser. Nearby, an open sack with some belongings lies abandoned. Apparently it won't be of much use to the thief anymore. The Sanator approaches the wretch cautiously, but the pool of blood around him indicates that the man is surely dead. Interesting that these sort of flickering embers, like we saw with his shadow spirit. His face is twisted with deadly terror, and his pose shows that he was surprised by someone. But who could that be? The malady developed so rapidly that he could hardly sit up. The Senator finds a candle end in the kitchen and carefully examines the body. Each day the malady seems to grow more virulent, killing its victims ever faster, and Richard knows that diseases don't normally work like this. At least the ordinary diseases don't. After making sure that the dead body bears no signs of assault, and that any accomplices have fled, the Sanator leaves the twice-cursed house. He must inform the brethren at the fortress. Maybe the acolytes will have some time to prepare this body for the evening autopsy. Richard has no doubt that it must be done. Now he has to calm down the guards. Minute after minute passes, and there is still nobody on the street. No whistles, no clatter of rough boots on the pavement. Has something happened to the girl? Has she been caught? The wife is alive and apparently sound. She sits in the same lane where Richard had found her the first time, her face on her knees, and she seems to be sobbing. Could the guards have offended the waif? Certainly one could have pushed her with the butt end of his spear. What could be simpler? No one would intercede for her, and she can't protect herself. Hearing Richard's steps, she raises her eyes and smiles timidly. She's glad to see the Sanator in one piece. Hey, are you all right? Why didn't the guards come? Syl answers, swallowing her tears and trying to smile. The gods are fools. They didn't even listen to me. But you're alive! Alive! I didn't do that very well. Of course I'm alive. Those guys had already fled. At least some of them. And those who didn't? And those who didn't? There we go. One's lying in there. We'll collect him for autopsy by the evening. Well, don't repeat his mistake. Don't go into the houses. It seems the incident has impressed her enough to stop joking around. No, I won't. It's better outside. The Sanator looks at the waif's patched clothes and realizes that he must do something for her. Not so many little girls can confront him like that after all. You'll be really cold at night. I'll bring you something to eat. Don't trouble yourself, kind crow. I've got a lot going on. You have a lot going on. Anyway, you have a lot going on anyway. Good people will feed me, as always. As long as the quarter is quarantined, Syl can't get out. Should he make sure that she won't be driven out from whatever... Should he make sure she won't be driven out from whatever shelter she might find? Yes, perhaps later. If that's so, then may the sleeper save you. May save you, Crow. Richard goes to the guards' outpost to tell them off for neglecting their duties. It's one thing to play dice when the streets are quiet, but it's quite another to drive away a child who's asking for help. Not to mention the interests of the Brotherhood, which are being affected too. But his anger is met with incomprehension. Richard chafes and drubs the pavement with his stick. The guards just stare at each other and shrug their shoulders. From the start of the morning, there was not a soul on the street. No waifs, no little girls calling for help. The Sanator wouldn't believe... No little girls calling for help. The Sanator wouldn't believe them. The Sanator wouldn't believe them at a different time, but now he backs off. The guards seem not to be lying. Could the girl have lost her courage and just lied to him about coming up to the guards? She indeed might have. Most likely the poor thing was sitting there, blaming herself for her cowardice, thinking that the Sanator might get killed because of her. Well, all's well that ends well. He shouldn't return to scold her, should he? Richard must report back to the fortress before continuing vain labors at the hospital. More fruitless efforts to retain the lives trickling from dying bodies, trying again and again, failing again and again until the sun hides behind the pointy roofs and the cool breeze of the evening brings a short respite to the patients desperately gasping for air. Wasn't there a third house we were supposed to visit? I guess we're not going there. Twilight forever reigned under the dank mortuary's vaulting. Even at the brightest noons, the sun rays hardly pierced the narrow windows on the thick stone walls. Excuse me. Smoky, tarry torches attempted to bring in light, all in vain, as they were only blackening the mildewed stones, weeping with condensation. But how it would all change on a moonlit night. This room was built ages ago in the times of the Eiler, when there was no Tentaria and no human cities. Now a bright ray of light falls in the middle of the hall, gathered by the system of mirrors cunningly hidden inside the walls. It is unusually crowded in here today. A number of figures in official Sanator outfits surround a low marble pedestal, where a body lies with its arms limply spread, prepared for autopsy by the attendant morticians. The body looks even whiter in the moonlight, resembling a marble statue, and the scarlet, cracked wounds look even more unnatural upon it. The St. Elmo brothers are talking quietly, nodding to each other with their heavy beaks. Their voices merge with the crackling torches, filling the room with a low hum, like a disturbed beehive. Today, all who gathered are one way or another involved in the unfolding war with the epidemic. What is with all this science-technical bullshit here? That's so fucking cool. Plague doctors, sci-fi, crazy, bullshit. This is so cool. Living diseases, eldritch monsters. Apparently, epidemics are created by, evil souls that kill the guilty. Fucking amazing. And yet there comes, in the moonlight, the cold gleam of a surgical knife, and all conversation abates, giving way to the firm, confident voice of the dissector leading the autopsy. The subject is male, about 20 years old, of regular build, emaciated, liver mortis on the face, clavicle, internal thigh surfaces. The neck, chest, and abdomen are covered by the characteristic cracks inherent to the current epidemic. The chest, neck, and abdomen are covered by the characteristic cracks inherent to the current epidemic. Presumed cause of death, extensive inner hemorrhage. Pay attention to the face. Silence, please. Silence, please. Note the facial expression of abject horror, possibly pre-exodus hallucinations. Commencing sectio transversalis. The blade silently slides through the body, opening it like a horrible flesh bud. The dissector dilates the cut, and he bends down to the corpse, nearly touching it with his beak, as if he was going to feast on the remnants like real crows do. Cracks inherent to the disease can be observed on the viscera too. Multiple lesions of the stomach and bowel, solar plexus pulverized. The voice of the dissector gets drowned out by the rising ruckus. The Sanators simply can't contain themselves. Ordinary maladies cannot kill so fast. What formerly was but a guess to be proven is now presented to everyone in a clear, unambiguous manner. Disruption of the heart bursa, heart wall. Quarantine the town immediately. Send word. We must return all of those who left in the past few weeks. It's the plague spirit. The Kadrat. The mortuary fills with disturbed voices, sounds of footsteps and the rustle of clothes. Others hurry to give orders that may ruin hundreds of lives, but save thousands. The orders are followed by the foreboding words. The spirit. The Kadrat. The entire region will be roused. Outposts of crossbowmen will block the roads, and both mounted and foot patrols will move along the forest paths. No one will leave Rostad until the spirit claims its own. Beak-headed figures disappear through dark archways until a lone dissector remains by the bodies, continuing to open the flesh, extracting the answers to the malady. For what point would there be in tending the ill without fully knowing the cause? But there may be a hint in the way the Kadrat kills, a secret which will lead the brothers to their target. An exhausted Sanator returns home well past midnight. So much has been done, and only the sleeper knows if they've missed something important. Have they missed the way, the chance to save Rostad from ruin? In the weak light of an oil lamp, Richard stays motionless for a moment in the dimly lit, dusty shed, trying to calm his fearful heart. Breathe in, breathe out. Now that his hands are trembling no more, he can take off the heavy clothes steadily to avoid touching the wet, glossy tar. It doesn't matter that the acolytes have washed the plague off him at the fortress. It doesn't matter that the Scarlet Scarf is not passed by touch. The rules must be followed. No Sanator knows how many times his life has been saved by the instructions that have become his second nature. But a violation of these instructions kills, and it kills suddenly. The night chill makes him shiver after the heavy, humid suit, but Richard does not hurry into the house. Sniffling from the cold, he washes off the remnants of the protective ointment, splashing out the rainwater onto the grass. His feet ache from tiredness, making him get to bed as soon as possible and fall asleep. Ooh, weird sparkly stuff. And even when the Sanator falls on the pitifully creaking bed, he can't afford a long rest. This night he has to talk to the Shadow, to his faithful Enga. She might notice something he's missed. The dream meets Richard with the familiar twilight, with a maze of walls and aisles branching out into a boundless space. The shapes of inner dwellers slither on the verge of visibility. One only has to concentrate, and the nocturnals will hide from the gaze that destroys their bodies, too fragile in their shapelessness. And to think that he was once totally unable to find his way here. Richard moves through the intricate passages of the inner labyrinth, towards the light and the tinkling of bells. Enga's chambers lay deep, and the Sanator has time to think about the questions he wants to ask the wayward Shadow. What to say and what to pass over in silence. Despite their constant... oops. Arm twitch there. Despite their consanguinity, both have their secrets and their own hidden agendas. She looks a lot like Syl. The Shadow's cenacle has no doors, but he stops at the entrance as usual, asking for permission to enter with a mere glance. Enga likes this little courtesy, and Richard can afford it. The shadow meets him, as she often would, turning aside resentfully with her hands in heavy chains defiantly exposed. Richard can see a mischievous sparkle in her eyes as she is reading the actions of her guest. All is well. Are you going to shame me again? Are you going to shame me again, Anga? The shadow casts an eye on him, full of hidden hope, and her chains tinkle like little bells. Are you trying to reassure me again, Richard? Calm me down while you stand before me with the very key to my chains in your hands. What an actress. If only I'd unweave the seals, we'd swap our roles at once. What kind of chains are you preparing for me, Anga? Anga screws her face into a smile, magnetizing the Sanator with her promising gaze. I was never taught to love otherwise. And what about you? Do you still heal those whose time is already measured and whose days are numbered? We will all be carried away by the wind someday, but it's still not the reason to refuse salvation to those who can still be caught. Oh wait, that's the Sanator talking. We will all be carried away by the wind someday, but it's not the reason to refuse salvation. To those who can still be caught. The Senator's answer angers her. The shadow rises in her seat, as if trying to catch his shoulders and shake him in a desperate attempt to make her point. They loathe you, blind man. Why are you so naive? They tremble when they see your cloak. They shut their doors and shutters. They're afraid to touch your very shadow. I wouldn't blame them for the latter, though. Is this still her talking? I wouldn't blame them for the latter, though. Anga twitches as if she was slapped. Oh wait, that was him talking. I wouldn't blame them for the latter, though. Yeah, because he's talking about her. Anga twitches as if she was slapped. She subsides and freezes. Then with an imperceptible movement, she slides out of her chained body, leaving it seated like a gutless puppet. Reappearing so close, Richard feels the heat of her breath. The Sanator doesn't budge. Long past are the times when the shadow's tricks could frighten him or catch him off guard. Whatever Anga does, the key from her chains is always firmly held in his fist. Protecting it means both bliss and torment, and Richard doesn't know whether he will be able to maintain self-control until his very end. Anga whispers. Her lips nearly touch Richard's ear, and her words touch his heart with anguish. Say you came here just for me. Say you have no questions for me today. He pretends to be cold. He has no right to fall for her tricks. Do you remember my promise never to lie to you? I keep my word. Your words cut deeper than your knives, Richard. Are you suffering because of a stranger's troubles again? Trying to save those who have imprisoned my sisters? Look at it from a different angle. Doesn't my help delay their fall into the sea? Where does the doomed one suffer more? On the scaffold or in prison, dying in his thoughts again and again? Richard speaks softly, but he is adamant under his softness. They are asleep, Agna, asleep. Your awakening is an exception. We discussed this before. Anga sighs theatrically and abruptly turns away, slapping his face with her hair. I can't even talk to you. I can't even have a talk with you. Ask then. Don't keep me in suspense. Richard sighs tiredly and sits down by the wall, starting his story. The memory obligingly awakens the day's earlier happenings, the barricade, the waif, living and dead houses, the sick, the hospital, the autopsy. The words flow and flow, and a charmed Anga listens to the story about the world she wishes so much to get into one day. I am fraught with doubt, Anga. It feels like I'm missing a detail, something irritating like an eye floater. Maybe you can catch something I couldn't? Your doubts are not unreasonable. Today you touched upon something very important for this plague. You did something meaningful. A new path between our dream and the fourth house wouldn't have appeared without reason. The disease walks around, scampering about your feet like a greyhound. Beware, don't miss the moment when she pounces to dig her teeth into your throat. She? She wants to say more, stretches out her hand to him, but... He wakes up. Take a drink. Excuse me. A knock at the door. Fast. Frightened. Knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. His head aches. The shade sleep doesn't let the body rest. One of the dues that must be paid for an intimate interaction with the other planes of reality. Richard lingers, gathering himself up to find out what the persistent guest wants. He presses his cold fingers to his temples, driving off the ache for a time. Knock, knock, knock. What do you want? Sanator knows the answer already. Half awake, he mistook the bell tolling outside for the aftershocks of his night visions. Its slow, hollow clangs echo in his heart. A frightened voice behind the door only confirms his fears. The plague is spread. What was the old woman's voice? The plague is spreading, Brother Sanator. The fortress is shut. The central quarters are closed off by the quarantine cordons. All doctors who aren't ill yet are summoned. You aren't ill, are you? Oh wait, no, this is... Who is this talking? I wish they'd give me, like, a name. This is probably a Sanator talking. I'm coming. Brush off already. There's no food behind the door. Is old Martha ill, or has she fled, hoping to hide from the march of the pestilence? That doesn't matter. He'll have time to eat later. Now he must hurry. If it's as bad as the messenger said, soon Rostad will be overtaken with panic and chaos. Richard knows that the ravens carrying grim orders from the closed fortress are flying to the local settlements. Even if the brothers can't keep the citizens within the stone trap of the town's walls, they would still have nowhere to run. The street is abandoned and lifeless. The shutters are firmly shut, the doors are closed. But the Sanator feels scratched by dozens of frightened stares through the sundry cracks and narrow attic windows. All the more unexpected is a diminutive shape of the lonely waif, Syl, trudging towards him. Syl looks tired and weak, even more pitiable than yesterday. Her rags are tainted with something, and her eyes shine feverishly. She peers at the houses tensely, as if looking for something, and when she sees Richard, she greets him with a wave of her hand. Crow, you're here again? You here again? And you're still wandering about. Sleeper's eyes, my dear, aren't you sap-headed? Look around, the pestilence is here. Someone could go mad with fear and harm you somehow. This rather innocent remark causes a storm of emotions in Syl. She raises her hands as if pushing someone back, and sniffles pitifully, clenching her fists and holding them near her lips. God damn it. I can't be a dickhead in these games. The Sanator stands in front of Syl at a loss, amazed by his own thoughts. What is the current price of this waif's life after all? How many little girls are suffocating in pain now trying to breathe in a way that won't disturb the horrible Scarlet Scarf marks? But the look of Syl, who's nearly crying, doesn't let him just go away. What can he do in town after all? Must he put to sleep a few more scores of citizens? All will be in vain. The Brotherhood is losing this battle, so why shouldn't they just let the scarf finish it? That's not what I wanted to do at all. You must care for the living, not the dead, even if the dead can still move and breathe. No, maybe not. Richard gathers his thoughts and speaks up kindly, trying to calm Syl down. If you have nowhere to go, you can live with me for a while. We'll find a place for you after the plague, so you'll be all right. She looks at him mistrustfully, as if gauging his sincerity, then asks quietly, Can I? Really? Are you trying to trick me, Crow? You seem to think I have some indecent plans. The suggestion somehow makes Syl smile. No way you could. If you're one of those, you'd have tried to do it all yesterday. Do you even know what you're talking about? You should be ashamed to ask a woman those things, Crow. Well, where's your home? Richard wants to scold her, but stops. Streets make children age fast, and it's better not to think about it. You're calling yourself a woman, Pimple. Better stay quiet and follow me. I'm coming, I'm coming. Just don't get angry. Syl waits patiently for Richard while he takes off the outfit which has had no time to warm up on him. She has calmed down and cheered up a bit after his invitation, but is still sniffling, either from the cold or swallowing the tears that remain hidden. You look different without your beak, Crow. Are you surprised? We're all humans, even if we wear masks. She thinks about it for a few moments, only answering Richard after a while. All humans. Yes, maybe. Are you cold, perhaps? Asks the girl standing barefoot on cold stone. Come in, it's warm inside. She's the plague, isn't she? Perching on a chair, Syl looks around Richard's room with interest, but doesn't touch anything. Meanwhile, Richard rummages downstairs, collecting the food left in the house on a tray. Soon he appears in the doorway, carrying a simple breakfast, bread, cheese, and a jar of honey he found in the cellar. Pot is heating, so we'll drink something hot soon. Do have a bite. Syl turns aside, answering quietly. I don't want... Are you ill? How could it be that you don't want to eat? I've been fed. Don't be shy, come on. Here's some honey. Take as much as you'd like. It's strange, but here at Richard's she's rapidly becoming serious and withdrawn, like an animal caught in a cage. You're a good man, Crow. I shouldn't have come to you. Nonsense. You can eat later. You'll surely want to. Richard sits on his bed, stretching his tired legs and leaning against the warm wall. His eyelids are getting heavy, but falling asleep without deciding where to put up Syl would be an unforgivable weakness. She's just sitting there looking at him, not willing to touch the food. What has she seen in the cruel backyards of town? Why is she acting so strangely? Her name is Syl, right? I'm Richard, Brother Richard Murdoch. Yes, but I'll still call you Crow. Richard raises his hands peacefully, smiling. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I'm not touchy. How long have you lived on the streets? No, I just can't find my own home. I'm walking around peeking in windows, asking. You seem to be in deep water. Why didn't you go to the fortress or the town hall? Someone must be looking for you, no? Why should I go there? I wasn't living there, and they're not looking for me. Perhaps they're even hiding from me. Something doesn't add up. But could the waif have a strange story? She's not the first to be abandoned by their parents, too poor to feed their children. What kind of parents do you have that would hide from their own daughter? And a house is big. Not a thing to hide in your pocket. I have no parents, but I'll find my home anyway. I'll try hard. Now's not the best time for searching. The town will soon go insane. I can't ensure your safety then. Hopeless people are capable of doing horrible things. Syl frowns as if she's going to cry. But I must keep looking or I may run out of time. Tell me about this house, Syl. Maybe I know it or have seen it? The butcher's house. I was a servant there. Which one? My head is swimming. A tall one, made of stone, with a heavy door, and a big cellar. Syl shudders from her memories. Richard's face hardens with each of her words, and he has a baleful... Richard's face hardens with each of her words, and he has a baleful gleam in his eye. He feels that he has come close to some terrible secret, a witness to something that needs a special brotherhood's attention. Don't be afraid. They won't find you here. It was they who mistreated you. I'm not afraid anymore. What they've done seems so immaterial now. Then show me your neck. Richard? Syl looks up with a twinkle in her eyes, smiling somehow coyly, as if to accuse the Sanator in conspiring to possess her. But she's met with a cold stare, sharp as a surgical knife, making her fall silent. And then slowly, as if ashamed, Syl pulls back the rags covering her neck. Yep, she's the plague. A carmine bloody scarf flutters in the humanly imperceptible wind. The first who dares to break the oppressive silence is Syl. You knew everything from the very beginning, didn't you? The Sanator's voice is calm again, calm in the same way calm in the same way as when he talks to Anga. But his manner in speaking his words give Richard away. No, I couldn't have guessed, but in the end I wanted to believe. In an orphan who's not afraid of your shadow. Having a family is not our custom. Oh wait, having a family is not our custom, but no one forbids taking apprentices. You could become a doctor, perhaps. Are you going to try killing me? They say brothers can hurt spirits just like living. Tell me everything. Even if we have to fight later, your tormentors will be punished. I want justice. Syl looks at him in amazement, as if hearing something unexpected. Justice? Don't you protect all good men of Tentaria? Good men, Syl. Only good ones. Now tell me, time is running out. Syl tells him softly, sometimes pausing for a moment to hold her tears back. I was born in a hamlet by the Mullahorn swamps. The butcher took me in as a servant. No, perhaps he bought me from my parents when I was very young. It seems even funny now to complain about the shouting and the beatings, the cold, and the lumber room under the staircase. But it felt very hard and unfair at the time. Sometimes I saw guests coming in by the back door. They all went to the cellar and shut the door firmly. The guests went home in the morning, and they always lacked one or two. What could I understand back then? The first time I tried to escape, the drunken master caught me in the lumber room and tried to rape me, and the next day his wife burned my back with a poker. Then I learned what the guests were doing in the cellar. One of them left a knife inside me, and night by night I loosened the stones in the old brickwork where the breeze was blowing. When they caught me the second time, they wouldn't leave me alive. The guests were looking on as the butcher flayed me. I was still alive when he took hold of my bleeding neck and pulled my skin down to my feet in one move. Fuck. No wonder she's covered in rags. The Sanator's voice is terrifying. Now he really sounds like the one that scares naughty children into line. The cult of Ragazan. Right under our nose at that. Syl, now your tormentor will learn much more about pain in the Executor's dungeons than you ever did. No, Mistress Millar made a deal with me. Each day of my search is paid with innocent blood. If I don't kill the butcher in a week, then I'll become a real Kadrat. Another one in the court of the Plague Maiden. You're an Avenger. And still you came to me. Did you realize how the Plague Maiden tricked you? Syl turns aside, sobbing, and hides her face in her palms, not wanting to show her weakness. I've forgotten their faces, and the house too. I had to forget everything, but I couldn't, and this caress awoke my memory. Richard is not shouting, but his accusations fall in the silence like heavy stones. You strike right and left, kill the innocents, aiming at your tormentors blindly. What have you become, Syl? What is the difference between you and the guests who came to torture you? Kill me, Richard. I know you won't rest until my vengeance is done. The Sanator knows that the Kadrat is crushed. The force leading her, vengeance, could not withstand the unexpected awakened conscience. But he asks the last question to end it all. Do you really want it? You must know, if you have any doubts, my strike will banish you, but it won't kill. I hate what I've become, brother. Thirst for revenge gnaws at my insides like a tireless worm. Take it from me, and I'll have no more reasons to exist. Richard nods in agreement. A stiletto has been long hidden in his clenched hand. Its blade, forged from metal fallen from the sky, can cut the bodies of those unafraid of the honest steel. Syl steps to him, taking off her scarf. She wants to say something, perhaps to say goodbye, but the Sanator is merciful. The stiletto's sting goes through her without the slightest resistance, and an astonished expression stays on her face as it vanishes into thin air. Wait, did he sever the scarf, or let me reread that. The stiletto's sting goes through her without the slightest resistance, and an astonished expression stays on her face as it vanishes into thin air. Okay, she vanishes into thin air. Richard sits for a long time, squeezing the scarf so tightly that his knuckles go white. He shakes his head and gets up. He knows that all around town, his brethren are seeing how the blood stops leaking from the never-healing cracks on the bodies of the afflicted. Many of them will still die, and they won't be the last victims of the Scarlet Scarf. The butcher living in his big house within a deep cellar will be found soon. And the next ones will be his guests. Then those who sold them the children. Then those who taught them to rejoice in the pain of others. Until the last one of them falls, the Brotherhood does not unclench its jaws if they happen to latch onto someone's throat. The gears of the mechanisms begin to spin. 1 week later, the executors found the butcher's house. He was denying everything, but a meeting with Richard broke him like a straw. He was executed in the square in front of a huge crowd using one of the most spectacular methods, excommunication from the sleeper. But before that, he had given up his accomplices. A lot of them were rich and influential, but not sufficiently enough to stop the rotating flywheel of the Brotherhood. The strings extended every which way, pulling new persons in the light, and Richard was merciless. He left the Sanator's ranks and transferred to the executors. But even there, his zeal began to seem suspicious with time. His men said that when he was alone, he would talk to the Scarlet Scarf, which he always had with him. 3 years later, Richard Murdoch went missing while chasing a group of cultist outlaws all by himself in the quagmires of Zexenmesh. Whether he perished in the fetid bog, was shot with an arrow from an ambush, or finally lost his sanity remains unknown. Though in the lost villages of swamp dwellers, there is a strange tale about a hermit called the Scarlet Scarf. But that's a story for another time. Well, shit. That was pretty cool. It was really short, too. I didn't think it would be quite that short. We've been playing... Oh, dear. Oh, hello, everybody. Oh, goodness. I missed all of your messages. Looks like my chat thingy messed up. My bad, folks. Let me see here. Why in the world is my chat thingy not working right? Connection active. Maybe I just didn't see the messages. Well, if anyone's still around, then I appreciate you stopping by. Why is my bitrate so low? Hopefully it didn't... Well, that sucks. No, that's still connected. Weird. Well, anyway. So that was one ending, I think. I guess there's more. Let me double check. Why am I dropping so many frames here? What is going on? Well, anyway. That was really fun. I hope the VOD is going to be salvageable, because for some reason my bitrate is super low for no reason. Well, anyway, let's see, that was 4 to 5:30, so I guess we got some time. Well, let's go ahead and play some more of this game, and we'll kind of make some other choices here and see where it takes us. So I feel like we didn't see like enough of this game. It would help though if my stream was working properly. I'm going to check how it's looking on Twitch real quick. Just going to turn off desktop audio so that doesn't disturb anybody while I check my channel. Man, I was really getting into that, into the acting there. That was a lot of fun. Let's see here. Hmm. Well, it doesn't look too bad. Bitrate's going up a little bit. And testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Are we dropping any bits? It's just very slow. Okay. Okay. Well, alright. Again, thank you for dropping by because I definitely didn't see y'all. My bad. Let me see if I can get the chat back up. Transparent Twitch chat. Bad authentication. Join channel Wandermyth. Ah. Mm-hmm. Okay, now it's working. Maybe it was just really focused on the dialogue too, so it could have been working, and then maybe it just goofed up. Well, anyway, dropping 30% of frames. I may have to end this early, as I'm not sure why exactly my bitrate is so slow. And I can't exactly tell how badly that's affecting my stream here. You see, I ran a bitrate test before I actually booted up the game, and apparently that wasn't good enough. Hmm. And maybe the chat overlay was also affecting my bitrate a little bit. Well, I'll have to check the VOD. But, this might be a good time to end since we're having some technical difficulties. Well, thank you all for dropping by, and we might play a little bit more of this tomorrow and kind of get some other endings. But I'd rather have those like on a VOD that actually works. Maybe. It's going up to 6. Hmm. Yeah, well, I guess I'll catch you all next time. Thank you for dropping by.